Finding out you're expecting is overwhelming enough, but discovering your partner is secretly living a double life, cheating on you, and then showing up to your hotel room wearing your dress? This one is an absolute roller coaster. Let's get right into this wild confession from User Content Scarcity 3887 titled, Pregnant and Found Out My Boyfriend is Gay. So, I have an 8-year-old. I'm 28. I am very happy with her. I share custody with her dad, and things are finally going smoothly, and she is a happy, brilliant child. I've always been happy to be one and done. Adamant, even. I have a boyfriend. We've been together a year. I wouldn't say we have much of a connection, but whenever I've tried to leave, he guilts me and cries, and I pitifully stay. We don't live together, and he isn't involved with my daughter. Our relationship is mostly just going out for food, watching movies, and having someone to call occasionally. We don't sleep together often, which is all from his side. He never seemed too interested in anything with me. We spoke about it, and he just said he's always tired with a low libido. It's complicated, but due to other factors, I am currently out of work and can't get back in until I've moved house, which is long in itself. Currently in temporary accommodation, one bed with my kid. So money is low, and home life isn't great due to no space and in a shit area. I recently enrolled to university, due to be starting in September. I was excited for the change and hopeful that this would improve my future career aspects even further, so when my daughter is a teenager, I'd be a high earner. I finally passed my driving test and got a car this year, which has been a huge weight off my shoulders, but doesn't solve all my problems, just travel issues. So after finding out I was pregnant, I told my boyfriend. His exes have all had procedures early on with him. I thought this is the route he'd want. Due to me being severely ill and in pain since the pregnancy, I've been in hospital a few times and found there are complications, and so I've had to have scans. He saw the scan and started to cry, stating he definitely wants the kid now, and if you unalive this baby now, I'll be gutted. His words threw me as we had been discussing a procedure, and even booked one for the greater good. We're broke, nowhere stable to live. I'd be in agony for the entire pregnancy, and I just don't think we should raise a kid together. I've been panicking since finding out and pregnant. He pressured me into canceling the procedure I had booked, as it was the very next day after the scan, and he said, "We need time to discuss this." I immediately regretted doing so. I opened his phone, which I rarely do. I wasn't intending to snoop. I was genuinely looking for a Reddit forum we'd visited together, discussing pregnancy, child babies. All the forums, his homepage was full of gay content. I'm talking gay adult content in every niche category, gay discussion pages, gay meme pages. His Reddit was flooded with gay, not bi pages. I tried to reason with myself that he was just curious, but he seemed to have been interacting for a while. After a couple mins looking, I decided I didn't want to snoop too much and asked him outright about it. Initially, he denied everything. Then he stated it's just when he's on a night out, drunk and taking substances, when he looks at gay adult content and he doesn't have sober thoughts. I kept pushing, and eventually he admitted that he thinks he's gay, not bisexual, that he's slept with probably 7 men and only a few since dating me. So he's been cheating the whole time, said when he's drunk he rushes home to get on gay chat sites and cosplays as a woman sometimes. He likes to dress up as a girl and he's a bottom. All his words. Then proceeded to tell me he's only gay when inebriated, he barely thinks about men sober, and that he's in love with me, something he never says by the way, and wants to raise a child with me, crying and begging me to stay with him with promises to do everything for me forever, and that he'll pay for everything for me, just please stay, and he will never do the gay stuff again. He begged for a chance to prove it, saying if he doesn't get drunk or take substances, he won't think of these things and won't cheat again. It was a lot to take in. I didn't see him for a few days. But we had a wedding coming up, and he was groomsman. I had everything ready and paid for, and other people were relying on me to drive them there and back, so I agreed to come to the wedding. He ends up drinking and taking substances, then following me back to my hotel I'd booked separately. He said he had a surprise for me. He came in wearing my dress and asking if I was into it. Just to clarify, I haven't shamed him about sexuality or kinks. Honestly, it sounds like bullshit typing this. I am still in shock. I obviously have to terminate the pregnancy. I can't have him as the father as my child. More so because of his amazing ability to lie and cover things up so easily, to cheat, and also external factors like finances, lack of love between us, etc. I don't even know what I'm asking here or looking for. I have tried to confide in friends about some of the topics, but I can't bring myself to say it all out loud. I feel like the biggest idiot, and the fact I'm pregnant by him just makes this all so much worse. He was willing to hide this forever and have me raise a child with him. I'm so hurt and angry and confused. This is an absolute mess of manipulation and deceit. He tried to guilt trip her into keeping a pregnancy while secretly cheating on her and living a completely double life. She is entirely justified in making the best medical and life choices for herself and her existing daughter, but how does she even begin to navigate ending this completely toxic entanglement? What would you tell a friend if they came to you with this exact situation? Sound off in the comments. I really want to see what you guys think about this one. Let's see what's next. Surviving a brutal illness only to discover your husband was secretly praying for it to take your life so he could be with his mistress is an unimaginable level of evil. Let's get right into this devastating discovery from user extension _Lake4065, titled, I survived the C word only to find that my husband of 11 years never loved me. I've been with my husband for 11 years now. We have 2 beautiful children. All this time, I always thought we were each other's soulmates and that nothing else could ever come between us. He helped me get through the worst time of my life when I was diagnosed with a severe breast illness, where he always assured me that we'll get through the whole ordeal together. I believed him as our family slowly got over my medical woes. However, I recently learned that after all this time, he was praying for the illness to spread far enough to unalive me. I discovered this all on my own after I found out that he had a spare phone hidden under our bed when I was changing the sheets. It was an older keypad model. It didn't even have the capability to install apps, I think. Something felt off, so I took it with me before confronting him. When I asked him about it, he denied that it was his, even though he'd rushed upstairs looking for it. So I took the kids, went to my sister's house, we're in the same neighborhood, and started reading the text messages. The only number ever saved was a name of a fling he had before we got together. This woman went to the same high school as us. They reconnected about 5 years into our marriage and never stopped talking, despite her being in a relationship after I looked her up on Facebook. Typing and recalling all of this is making my heart ache all over again. He told her that if the illness ever does come back, they can finally be together. I kept scrolling down and realized that they were secretly texting each other for about 5 years. My husband's always been stoic, and he's never really been one to overtly show emotions and all that, and here he was texting her good morning and I love you messages. In one of the texts, he blamed me for wasting a decade of his life. He also said in the text that he only stuck with me because of our children. I'm thinking of getting a divorce, but it's looked down upon in our country. To make it worse, he's been threatening me and accused me of stealing the phone. And the worst of all is that I have no idea how I'm going to break the news to my children. This is beyond heartbreaking. To stand by someone's side during a life-threatening illness while secretly wishing they would pass away is pure psychopathy. She obviously needs to get as far away from him as possible, but navigating a divorce in a country where it's deeply stigmatized while protecting 2 kids and dealing with his threats is incredibly complicated. How would you handle this situation if you were in her shoes? Does she prioritize her safety and leave immediately, or quietly plan a slow exit strategy? Let's discuss in the comments. Let's see what the next story has in store. Destroying your best friend's marriage over a completely false cheating accusation and then demanding a front row seat at her funeral is a whole new level of delusion. Let's get right into this wild reality check from titled AITA for telling my daughter she doesn't have the right to mourn or go to her ex-friend's funeral after what she did. New account, since my daughter does know my other account. When my daughter was in school, she became friends with a girl named Kelly. They stayed close through college, and my daughter was even one of Kelly's bridesmaids when she got married. To explain where my daughter's behavior came from, my ex-husband was unfaithful to me repeatedly, and our marriage ended horribly. My daughter doesn't speak to her father anymore, and she absolutely despises unfaithfulness. About 7 years ago, my daughter became convinced that Kelly was being unfaithful to her husband. She started relentlessly bothering Kelly online and essentially blew up her life. By the time my daughter found out that the man she had seen Kelly with was actually a relative, they were at a fancy restaurant together, it was too late. Kelly's marriage had already fallen apart, and because we live in a very religious community, she was ostracized by many people. They had a huge falling out, and it basically came down to my daughter ruining Kelly's life. Kelly blocked her on everything and eventually moved away. Kelly hated my daughter after that, and so did her mother. I still run into Kelly's mother occasionally, and she has made her feelings about my daughter very clear. The issue is that Kelly recently passed away. My daughter found out through a Facebook post, and the funeral is this weekend, 2 states away. My daughter was planning to attend the funeral, and I told her that I thought it was a terrible idea. She said she needed to go, and I told her again that she shouldn't. We got into an argument, and she said she had every right to mourn her friend and attend the funeral. I told her that she really didn't have the right to mourn Kelly or go to the funeral because Kelly hated her after everything that happened and because my daughter had destroyed her life. She hasn't spoken to me since. Now I'm wondering if I should warn Kelly's family that my daughter might show up at the funeral, or that I might be in the wrong here. The mother is completely right. Showing up to the funeral of someone whose life you actively ruined isn't about honoring their memory. It's about making yourself the center of attention to ease your own guilt. If she actually respected Kelly, she would stay far away and let her real family mourn in peace. Should the mom call Kelly's family to warn them, or was she too harsh? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Moving on to the next drama. Having a family member get completely wasted, aggressively hit on your new husband, and insult your appearance on your actual wedding day is a total nightmare. Let's get right into this wedding disaster from user OK-fault1007 titled, I never want to talk to my cousin again after what he did at my wedding. I, F35, got married 3 months ago. Everything was great. We had a lovely time. I had lots of fun, and most people seemed happy. Except for one of my cousins, M39. Before anything, I want to give some context that may explain his actions and why I'm conflicted. His father is very sick and with a bad prognosis. He, cousin, has been doing everything, getting the best doctors and spending a lot of money to try and help it. It seems like it's not going to work, and it's heartbreaking. In the midst of this, my cousin has gotten into the habit of getting drunk and calling to say very hurtful things to people close to him. He's coping badly, to say the least. So, the wedding day. Cousin started drinking and smoking substances early, like at lunchtime. He was hiding around to drink at the church and, of course, continued during the reception. He's in an open marriage. Both him and his wife spent the night trying to get with other guests to varying success. This would be kind of funny, however, I know at least one person felt very uncomfortable and disrespected, as he wouldn't take no for an answer. He also aggressively told the DJ to play different music because this one was boring and sucks. Thankfully, my sister overheard and told the DJ to just ignore the drunk man. People were dancing, music was fine. After this failed, cousin came to me and said, if he continues to play that music in half an hour, you have to kick him out. I said, I'm not doing that. He tried to argue. Then he found me and my husband, and we had a weird conversation. He, one, pointed at a physical characteristic of my husband and said he welcomes him to the family in spite of it. 2, said we are obviously not in the same league and my hubby is much better looking than me. And 3, told my hubby he'd get with him because he's good looking and cousin's a little bit gay. What? Finally, he tried to dance with my husband very close, getting touchy, which he rejected repeatedly. My hubby was getting upset and cousin wouldn't listen, so I got in the middle to tell him to stop. Some other people seemed ready to intervene, so cousin just left. But when I was alone for a moment, he came back to inform me that I'm a bitter person, always have been, and my man will leave me surely if I continue to be like this. I wouldn't say he ruined my wedding, but he kinda tainted it. I can't help but feel he did at least some of this from malice. I've tried to turn it around and think he's grieving and was under the effect of substances. One problem my family is the kind that's afraid to call out bad behavior from angry men. And the rest of us just have to forgive them automatically, because it's family. This is hard for me. I'm usually pretty drastic when people intentionally hurt me. But it was never family. We grew up together. Why would he do that? I guess we'll see how I feel with more time, and if he ever tries to apologize, unlikely. But for now, my gut tells me to avoid him at all cost. Grief is incredibly difficult, but it absolutely does not give someone a free pass to harass wedding guests, aggressively hit on the groom, and insult the bride on her special day. The fact that the family just expects everyone to automatically forgive angry behavior is exactly why he felt comfortable doing all of this. But what do you guys think? Is the bride right to cut him off completely, or does his heartbreaking family situation mean she should give him a little grace? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Moving right along to the next story. Refusing to change your own baby's diaper and expecting your partner to do free manual labor for strangers are massive red flags. Let's get right into this confession from user Ilfury titled, I, M38, broke up with my girlfriend earlier this year and lied to her about why. We'd been dating for months, not long after my divorce from a 25-year relationship, dated since we were 12. Anyways, the woman I was dating was great in many ways, but I ended things saying I didn't want to have more kids or marriage. She absolutely did. Sure, for the right person, maybe I could, but getting married again scares the shit out of me after finding out vows don't matter. The real reason I broke up with her is that she said if we did have a kid together, she should be absolved of all diaper changing. Okay, no problem. I have 2 kids. I've done thousands of diapers. Then I asked what happens if I am at work and the child soils themselves. Her answer was to involve her mother or wait until I get home. That wasn't the only problem. I have my kids half of every week and am dedicated to my time with them. When I am not with them, I work on myself. This was apparently an invitation to demand free labor of me. Her mother assumed I would shovel snow off her roof the day she asked and that I could do the same for her friends, and it wasn't just snow shoveling either. On a day off, I was asked to go help some of her mom's friends to move, but my girlfriend or her mom wouldn't be there. It would just be me and strangers, and she was also kind of terrible in bed. She screamed too much and reciprocated nothing. I never told her the truth, I never will, but I did want to get this off my chest. We can all agree her demands were completely ridiculous, but was he right to take the easy way out and lie about the reasons for the breakup? On one hand, telling the truth might have just caused unnecessary drama. On the other hand, didn't she need a harsh reality check so she doesn't pull this with the next guy? What would you have done in his shoes lie to keep the peace or drop the brutal truth? Let me know below. Up next, we have another wild one. When someone helps you move, cleans your apartment, and drives you to the airport, you'd naturally assume you're friends. But what happens when they completely ignore you the second your life is actually going well? Let's dive straight into this confusing dynamic from user anyfail6263. I, 26, am a Christian. I've always liked the religion because in my experience the people are polite, calm, and easygoing. But recently I've had a situation that left me a bit confused. A while back, I went through a really dark period. I lost a parent, I was struggling financially, and because of my financial situation, I ended up losing a lot of my friends. During this time, a guy from my church, who was my group leader at the time, stepped up in a big way. He was incredibly kind. He drove me around, helped clean my apartment, took me to the airport so I could go home, and later even helped me move. He checked in on me whenever he could. Naturally, I thought we were becoming close friends. Fast forward to now, my life is finally stable again. Since things have calmed down, I've tried to hang out with him like normal friends do. I'll text him and ask if he wants to get coffee, play tennis, shoot some pool, or play PlayStation, since I know he likes to game. Every single time, I am completely ignored. He will still show up if there is an absolute emergency, or if it's church-related. But for the little things chatting, catching up, accountability, venting, or just hanging out for fun, he is completely unavailable. Recently, someone asked me if he and I were friends. I answered honestly and said, no, he's a Christian. I didn't say this out of anger or hate, I just realized that he was helping me out of a sense of religious obligation and duty, not because he actually wants to be my friend. I decided to just categorize the relationship accurately for what it is. Well, he found out what I said, and he got really emotional and hurt that I don't consider him a friend. I feel bad that his feelings are hurt, but it's really hard for me to consider someone a friend when they ignore me 90% of the time. To me, friendship isn't just about showing up for massive emergencies. It's also about the small, casual, day-to-day stuff. AITA for defining our relationship this way. It is completely fair to call this relationship exactly what it is. Friendship requires a mutual, two-way connection, not just a savior complex. If someone only wants to interact with you when you're in a crisis or when it's an official church event, You are a ministry project to them, not a buddy. He can't ignore texts to grab coffee and then act shocked when he isn't viewed as a close friend. Was the poster out of line or completely right to redefine this? Let me know your take in the comments. Now let's jump straight into the next one. Getting a sudden message from the person who made your childhood a living nightmare, acting like nothing ever happened just because you are having a baby, is enough to freeze anyone in their tracks. Let's dive straight into this heavy situation from user Majestic Bonus 2812, titled, "My father has recently reached out to me after years of mistreatment and abandonment. I am 20 years old, I'm in college, my girlfriend and I are expecting our first baby, and for the first time in my life, I actually feel like I'm building something good. Recently, a few days ago, I got a Facebook message from my estranged father, whom I haven't been low contact with since I turned 16. I was shocked and just stared at my phone for a good 10 minutes after everything he did. He just typed, 'Hey son, been thinking about you, hope we can talk.' Like none of it ever happened. I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel." Growing up, I was the oldest of three, which basically meant I was the shield. If my younger siblings did something wrong, I'd step in. If my mom was about to get screamed at, I'd try to redirect his attention. Sometimes it worked. Most of the time, it just meant I got struck instead. He wasn't just physically mistreating. He knew exactly what to say to make a kid hate himself. He'd tell me I was stupid, that I'd never amount to anything, that nobody would ever love me. One thing he said that still echoes in my head was, "I wish your mom swallowed you. Who says shit like that to their own fucking kid?" I was maybe 8 when I accidentally knocked a plate off the counter. It shattered everywhere. I started apologizing before it even hit the floor because I already knew what was coming. He grabbed one of those handheld mirrors from the bathroom and started striking me with it over and over. I remember trying to cover my face because I didn't want the glass to break. The entire time, he kept yelling that I couldn't even do one simple thing right. I still remember sweeping up the broken plate afterward while crying because he told me if I missed a piece, he'd give me another reason to cry. School noticed. One morning, I came in with a black eye and bruises on my arms. A teacher asked me what happened. I lied. They didn't believe me. CPS got involved. They interviewed everyone. They came to the house. Nothing happened. I don't know if my dad charmed them or if they just didn't have enough evidence, but after they left, he attacked me again because I'd embarrassed him. That taught me not to tell anyone ever again. When I was 15, I started dating a girl from school. He found out because he saw us holding hands after football practice. The second we got home, he started screaming. He kept calling me names, saying I was too stupid to have a girlfriend, that no girl would ever actually want me. I finally talked back. Just once. I said, "You don't get to talk to me like that. That was the worst attack I ever got." He threw me into the wall, struck me until I couldn't breathe, and hurt me while I was on the floor. I don't remember everything after that. I just remember waking up sore everywhere. A few months later, my mom finally had enough. She waited until he left for work one night. She woke us up quietly and whispered, "Don't turn any lights on." We packed whatever fit into trash bags, no suitcases, no goodbyes. We drove to my grandparents' house in complete silence. My mother cried the entire drive and said she had failed us by not leaving sooner. That was the first night in years I slept without wondering if someone was going to burst into my room screaming. Since then, I've kept him at arm's length. Very low contact. A phone call every once in a while, a holiday text if he reached out. Mostly because part of me kept hoping maybe he'd changed. Meanwhile, he started over. New wife, new kids. From what I hear, he's the perfect dad now, coaching Little League, family vacations, birthday parties, the kind of father I spent my whole childhood wishing I'd had. It's hard not to wonder why they deserved that version of him, but we didn't. 3 days ago, I got a DM on Facebook from my father. He saw the ultrasound pictures I posted and congratulated me. He said he would love to reconcile and be a part of his grandbaby's life. I was completely shocked. I honestly didn't know how to react or what to even think. I just froze and haven't responded yet because I don't even know what to say. Seeing that message brought back so many memories I thought I had moved past. Everything just came flooding back all at once, and I'm sitting here trying to process it. I'm in complete shock. Part of me doesn't know if I should be angry, emotional, or even believe that he really means what he's saying. I never expected to hear from him like this, especially now, and I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to do next. The absolute audacity to violently terrorize your child for years, go start a shiny new picture-perfect family, and then casually slide into their DMs demanding access to a new grandchild is mind-boggling. It makes complete sense why he is paralyzed by this message. On one hand, letting him in could expose this new baby to the exact same monster he grew up with. But on the other hand, some people argue that completely closing the door without hearing them out leaves you with permanent what-ifs. What do you guys think? Should he leave his father on read forever to protect his new family's peace, or is it ever worth opening that door just to see if a person has actually changed? Let's debate this in the comments, moving right along to the next story. Having an aging parent move in is supposed to be a massive help, but what happens when they act more like a demanding teenager who refuses to contribute? Let's get right into this incredibly frustrating cultural dynamic from user That Girl titled, "Taking Care of Your Parents is Harder Than Your Own Children Again." My mom has been living with us for the past 5 years. Every day she complains about the house, how it's not always clean, how there's so many things to fix, how we should buy new XYZ. She used to make minimum wage, nothing wrong with that, and she does not contribute financially to anything as we don't feel comfortable asking her for money. She is an immigrant mom and does not speak fluent English, so I am always the middleman translating and navigating her way of life. She has no savings, no retirement plan, and she is turning 65 this week. My husband and I make $250,000 combined. We have 2 young children and never had any childcare help other than full-time daycare, summer camps, and before/after-school programs. My husband and my mom cannot communicate with each other, and she makes no effort to try. I gave birth to my second child alone as we had no one to care for our firstborn. She thinks she is always doing stuff to help us out when she is making things always worse. For example, cooking a meal that the kids don't like when there is already food I meal prepped in the fridge. She buys clothing/toys for my children that they do not need at least once a week when our house is already overrun with clothes and toys. She makes no effort to clean up the house and mostly stays in her room watching TV. She makes no effort to play or connect with my children. She makes no effort to save her hard-earned money to plan for her future, even when I tell her I cannot support her forever. She has been out of work for the past 4 months, and everybody tells me I'm so lucky that I have my mother who lives with us, so she can help out. But it's the complete opposite. She feels like a bratty teenager owning space in my home. She sometimes helps to walk my dog and physically look after my kids when my husband and I are caught up with work. My hubs works daytime and I work overnight, but it feels like so much trouble asking her to even do that. My husband often gets triggered with her non-doings. Taking care of her is more mentally exhausting than taking care of my kids. She always fights back when I tell her what the next steps are because she thinks she knows it all. She knows next to nothing. I always have to help her with computer stuff, tax stuff, healthcare stuff, all of life's important things. My husband and I had a fight recently where he was expressing his frustration about this whole situation. She overheard and demanded that she's leaving because she doesn't feel appreciated living here. I don't have anything to appreciate her for at this time. I am just tired, man. Tired of being the immigrant daughter who wants to excel in my own life but got stuck trying to take care of a mom who is so difficult. The cultural expectation for children of immigrants to completely sacrifice their own peace to take care of their aging parents is a remarkably heavy and unspoken burden. It sounds like she and her husband have been incredibly generous, but her mother's refusal to adapt or appreciate their home is slowly destroying their peace. Do you think the daughter should call her bluff and let her mom move out to save her own marriage, or is there a better way to set boundaries with such a stubborn parent? Let's discuss in the comments, moving right along to the next story. Pushing through a car accident to run a half marathon is incredibly inspiring, right until you let your ego win and accidentally soil yourself in front of thousands of cheering spectators. Let's get right into this absolute nightmare from userconfident_ad_84. Titled, "I pooed myself at the finish line of a half marathon in front of thousands of people." This was last year in November. I was 22. I've never told anyone this except my partner, my parents, and my brother. Not even my best friend, but I need to get it out somewhere. A week before my half marathon race, I was in a car accident on a highway. I ended up with a strained neck and whiplash, but I decided I was still doing the race. I'd trained for months, I had a goal time in my head, and I was determined. Determined to poo my pants, yep. I have IBS. I knew before the race even started that I needed to poo. There were toilets on the course. I could have stopped easily, although my ego took over and I didn't want to lose time. I was such an idiot about it. Somewhere in the last stretch, right as I was coming up on the finish line, I realized what had happened. My shorts were light blue, so there was absolutely nowhere to hide it. Soaked, brown, horrifying. Poo was already dripping down my leg, fully soaked through, clear as day, looked like a brown crime scene on my shorts. Anyone next to me could see, including the crowd of thousands cheering on the sidelines. A woman running beside me actually pulled her own shirt off and tried tying it around my waist to cover the huge stain. I had a little crop top on, so I took that off too and tried using it, but it just wasn't big enough to cover anything properly. So that was it. I ran a well-known race through crowds of people, into the finish line, covered in my own poo. Everyone saw. Thousands. People looking. Nothing I could do. World literally stopped. Every time I looked down to see the brown stain, I couldn't even describe the feeling. I wanted to disappear. I crossed the line and I had to sit on the curb to cover myself, sorta, whilst I waited for my mom to come bring me her coat to cover myself properly with. I don't know how I feel about this now. I don't think I've actually thought about it much because I don't want to keep reliving a nightmare. Sometimes I'll crack jokes with my dad. Pooing yourself in front of thousands of people. Life could always get worse. Yep, that woman who literally took off her own shirt while running to help cover a complete stranger is an absolute hero. As horrifying as this is, marathon runners actually talk about this happening way more often than you'd think. Have you ever had a public embarrassment so bad that you just wanted the earth to swallow you whole, or is this the ultimate worst-case scenario? Share your most embarrassing moments down below. Let's see what's next. Getting out of a highly toxic situation can make you doubt everything. But when even your partner's own sister tells you to run, you know you are making the right choice. Let's get right into this heartbreaking story from user Rachel PR2202, titled, I finally left my 6-year toxic relationship. I, 25F, left my partner, 28M, today. We have a little boy together. I'm so scared. It's escalated to emotional mistreatment with threats of physical harm. He's thrown things at our little boy, screamed in his face, drives erratically while we're in the vehicle with him. He belittles me, my job, my friends. He tried to isolate me from my friends, parents. I suspect he's got a lot of narcissistic tendencies. He is not a good parent. He is not a good partner. I do not trust him with our child. He financially controls me. We struggle financially, and he makes big, careless purchases. He recently got scammed out of $250 on a motor part for a boat we don't even own and can't afford, then lied about it, and finding that out today was the final straw. He crossed serious personal boundaries with me that I'm still processing. He pathologically lies. He hides things from me. He has major issues with alcohol. He'd fallen deep into a toxic online ideology that changed how he treats people. It's horrifying. He's become ultra-religious almost overnight, despite religion never being part of our household growing up. He constantly posted extreme opinions online that I strongly disagreed with, and no matter how many times I told him it embarrassed me, he wouldn't stop. He has no control of himself when he's angry, and he's angry 99% of the time. He has a seizure disorder that has been incredibly difficult for me to live with on top of everything else. He leaves all of the housework up to me. I carry 99% of the mental load of the household, but it's easier for me because I'm a woman. He's dismissive and disrespectful toward me as a person. I think I've lost all respect for him. I'm afraid to move forward in raising our child together. His own sister told me that I should leave. I could go on and on about the reasons why I left, but I'm still questioning myself on whether I made the right decision. I thought I would feel so great once I finally left, but I don't right now. I feel horrible. I feel like a shell of myself. I'm so afraid that I made the wrong decision. I'm afraid of what's to come. It is completely normal to feel terrified and empty right after escaping a deeply toxic environment. That is the trauma bond talking, not reality. She absolutely made the right choice to protect herself and her son from his escalating behavior. If you have ever had to walk away from a terrible situation, how long did it take you to finally feel like yourself again? Leave some words of encouragement for her down in the comments.